17 things people think are in the Bible but aren't. For many, the Bible is foundational for faith, guidance, and wisdom. However, misconceptions about its content are surprisingly common. Some statements and beliefs that are widely accepted or quoted are often thought to be biblical, but they don't actually appear in the scriptures. Welcome to my channel, God's Care Jesus. Let's start this meaningful video, so support me with likes and shares these facts. This article aims to debunk 17 common myths and clarify what the Bible actually says. We hope to deepen our understanding and encourage a more accurate engagement with the biblical text in this article by addressing these misconceptions. Christmas as Jesus' birthday. Although Christmas is celebrated globally on December 25th, it is not directly mentioned in the Bible. The New Testament details Jesus' birth but does not specify a date. The choice of December 25th was likely influenced by the Roman festival of Saturnalia and the winter solstice. The customs and timing of Christmas developed over centuries, based on the foundational narratives provided in the Bible. Concept of purgatory. The Catholic Church teaches us that purgatory is a temporary state of purification for those who have died in God's grace, but need further purification before entering heaven. This belief, more developed in the Catholic tradition, is not accepted by most Protestant denominations. While purgatory is not directly mentioned in the Bible, passages like Matthew 12:32, where Jesus speaks of sins being forgiven in the age to come, are interpreted to support this idea. Liturgical calendar feasts. Feasts and observances in the liturgical calendar, such as Advent, Lent, and various saints' days, are not directly found in the Bible. The early church developed these traditions to organize the Christian year and honor significant events in Jesus' life and the lives of saints. The liturgical calendar emerged over time to enhance worship and spiritual reflection, reflecting the church's effort to celebrate and remember key elements of the Christian faith. Worshipping Mary. The Bible does not specifically address the worship of Mary, the mother of Jesus, though she's honored for her role. In Luke 1:28 and Luke 1:42, Mary is recognized as highly favored and blessed among women. However, the Bible emphasizes that worship is due to God alone, as seen in Revelation 19:10 and Revelation 22:8-9. While Mary is venerated in various traditions, worship is reserved for God. Consumption of blood. The Bible strictly prohibits the consumption of blood, emphasizing its sacredness and connection to life. In the Old Testament, Deuteronomy 12:16-23-24 commands the Israelites to avoid eating blood and to pour it out on the ground. Although dietary restrictions, like the prohibition of eating pork, were lifted in the New Testament, the ban on consuming blood remains upheld. This consistent prohibition across both the Old and New Testaments highlights its enduring significance in biblical teachings. Worship of statues and sculptures. The Ten Commandments explicitly forbid the worship of graven images and idols. As stated in Exodus 20:4-5, statues and images in Christianity are not meant for worship in themselves, but to assist in uplifting devotion and prayer life. These visual aids can help believers focus their thoughts and prayers on God. Honoring saints. Honoring saints, as understood in some Christian traditions today, is not explicitly outlined in the Bible, although the New Testament encourages respecting and following the example of faithful leaders. Hebrews 13:7. It does not establish formal veneration of saints. This practice developed later in Christian tradition and is not directly addressed in biblical texts. The Bible primarily focuses on honoring God and living according to His teachings. Celebrating Valentine's Day. The Bible does not mention Valentine's Day, but emphasizes love's importance. 1 John 4:7 states, "Let us love one another, for love is from God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God," highlighting love as a reflection of God's nature. While the Bible encourages expressions of love, it also advises against excessive materialism or idolatry. Therefore, Christians should celebrate in a manner that aligns with biblical values, focusing on genuine, God-centered love. Ritualistic observances. The Bible addresses various ritualistic and ceremonial practices, distinguishing between acceptable and unacceptable ones. In the Old Testament, rituals like sacrifices and festivals were significant, but the New Testament reveals that Jesus fulfilled the Old Testament law, Matthew 5:17, and that such practices are no longer necessary, Hebrews 10:1-18. John 4:24 emphasizes that worship should be in spirit and truth, not merely external rituals. While rituals have their place, the Bible stresses that sincere faith and a genuine relationship with God are paramount. Worshipping different gods. The Bible commands that only one God shall be worshipped, and all other gods should not be worshipped nor represented through icons. This principle of monotheism is found in both the Old and New Testaments, warning against idolatry and polytheism. Celebrating Halloween. The Bible does not mention Halloween, as it is a modern celebration that emerged after the biblical texts were written. Some Christians avoid Halloween due to its origins in pagan and occult practices, opting for more Christian-centered celebrations instead. 1 Thessalonians 5:22 advises believers to abstain from all appearance of evil, which some interpret as a caution against participating in Halloween festivities that might seem to glorify dark or evil themes. Salvation through works. It is a common misconception that good deeds alone bring salvation. The Bible teaches us that salvation is by grace through faith, not by works. As emphasized in Ephesians 2:8-9, good works result from faith and a response to God's grace, not a means to earn salvation. Subscribe me for more videos. Easter Sunday. The Bible does not explicitly mention Easter Sunday, but it provides the basis for the celebration through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. This event is central to the Christian faith, symbolizing victory over sin and death and the promise of new life. Key resurrection accounts include Matthew 28:1-10, Mark 16:1-8, Luke 20:1-12, and John 20:1-18. These passages describe the empty tomb and the angelic announcement that Jesus has risen, highlighting the significance of the resurrection for believers. Fortune-telling and prophecy. Many people confuse fortune-telling with biblical prophecy, but the Bible sees them differently. Deuteronomy 18:10-12 condemns fortune-telling, divination, and magic, calling them wrong and warning against their practice. These are viewed as seeking knowledge from sources other than God. In contrast, prophecy is seen as a divine gift and a true way of communicating with God. Fortune-telling is linked with occultism, while prophecy is a direct revelation from God meant to help His people. 7 deadly sins. The Bible does not categorize pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth as the 7 deadly sins. These terms were developed later by early Christian theologians to highlight certain vices that lead to further sin and spiritual downfall. Early Christian theologians, such as Pope Gregory I in the 6th century, formalized the concept of the 7 deadly sins, and later Thomas Aquinas in the 13th century. These theologians aimed to categorize and highlight the most serious moral and spiritual failings that could lead a person away from God. We are all children of God. According to the Bible, all people are created by God, but believers in Christ are especially referred to as God's children. John 1:12 explains that those who receive Jesus and believe in His name are granted the right to become children of God, highlighting a spiritual rebirth through faith. This difference emphasizes that while we are all created by God, a personal relationship with Christ is required to be considered a child of God on a spiritual level. Apple being the forbidden fruit. The forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden is not identified as an apple in the Bible. It is referred to in Genesis merely as the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, without specifying what type it was. The association of the apple is most likely the result of artistic depictions and cultural interpretations.